And then now it's as simple as that. Because I don't really know how like people do podcasts. It seems like some people will have like these really long intros to where they have, like, hey, this is who I am, the other person, and other people are just like kind of just roll into it. And so I'm still trying to figure that out after all of these. And it just I don't know. I don't really like having a plan. So yeah, thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. This is a fighter story. And how about you just go ahead and kind of like introduce yourself to our guests? Kind of let us know who you are, where you're from, what you do, and we can kind of just shoot from the hip from there and just see what happens. Really, kind of tell your story a little
Yeah,
bit, and while you're in your story, I'll just probably interject and you know see what happens.
sounds wonderful.
Cool.
So my name is Leanne Kanzler. I am in Sydney, Australia, just outside of Sydney, actually, on the kind of towards the Blue Mountains area. I have been a psychologist for over 10 years and now doing coaching with people after they experience a breakup and they really they need some help to get over their ex and their story with their ex so that they can move on and have a successful life. So as you know, a lot of relationships can lead to trauma and, whether it be from controlling behaviours, abuse, trauma from family, whatever it might be. So there's a lot of stories that come out of broken relationships and people really need to be able to tell their story, not get stuck in their story, move on and have a great life. So for me, this all started after my own experience. I got married when I was just 20 with my partner from 17. So he's my first real relationship. Very, very young. I know I have a son now who's 21 and I think, oh man, I don't want him to get married at this age. This is way too young. But I really had no concept of who I was. So I felt like I grew up in quite a fairly strict kind of Catholic family and, very high morals and values and all of that, which was great. But I didn't know who I was. And my husband was only 22 when we got married. He didn't really have a great concept of who he was either. And it led to me kind of disappearing. I felt like I had no voice. I didn't know what was right from wrong in a sense when it came to being in a relationship. I was trying to please him. He was quite controlling, very strong in his mind as to the right way to do things and the wrong way to do things. And of course, the right way was never my way. So it led to lots of fights, but more lots of silence. I don't know if your listeners are aware, but silence can be absolutely devastating to a relationship. It really is like a relationship killer. Often when people go silent, it kind of leaves you to your in this space of feeling desperate for any kind of words, like just for God's sake, speak to me. And it's really a horrible place to be in. So we were together for 20 years. I was 38 when I finally had enough and said, I'm done. And from there, of course, my own journey to healing. And now I finally know, 12 years later or so, I finally understand who I am and that my purpose is really to help other people to love themselves and figure out who the hell they are and deal with their trauma and know that a relationship breakup is an absolute opportunity to discover yourself and look at how you got in that shitty situation in the first place.
Yeah. I think I might just kind of take this moment to appreciate the fact that I get to speak to you a little bit more right now. So my best friend is actually going through a breakup and it's annoying. And so um but also kind of so I could definitely use you over here in America to kind of take care of this situation for me. Um but it just, yeah, I feel like this isn't something that a lot of people really do. Like I've
Mhm.
never heard of a psychologist specializing in, breakups. Um, yeah, like, how did you choose to get into that? I mean, obviously, like from experience and everything, but like while going through like the educational path, is that like something that you had to choose early on, that's kind of what you wanted to specialize in, or?
No, definitely not. I think it definitely came from my own experiences. So when I started dating, it was, what's the word I want to use? I'm going to say like disturbing. It was disturbing. I tried online dating because my kids at that time were quite young, and I wasn't the partying type. I've never been the type that would go out and pick up or whatever. That's just not what I do. So, I didn't know how to meet people, so I went the online route. And what that meant was meeting a lot of people who were angry, a lot of men who were angry, who had no idea how to have, just wanted to have sex, who were really crude and rude. Hello, I'm not going to go on a date with you if you're going to be an asshole, excuse the language, but and they just didn't get it. They really didn't get it. And I saw a lot of it. And then, when often women or people in their 40s, they break up from long-term relationships. And a lot of my friends and my clients talking about the horror of dating again after a breakup. And really not understanding that a lot of it is from trauma. So a lot of this anger and resentment and shame and guilt and all of this stuff comes from past traumas. But because my friends and clients don't have a psychology degree or any kind of concept about other people's behaviour in the way that I did, they couldn't see it. Whereas I would just go, okay, bye. But they
Right.
were taking it all very personally, getting very upset. What's wrong with me? Instead of going, hang on a minute, hang on a minute. It's not about you. This is their stuff. This is their stuff. Stop painting it like you're a problem here. So I thought, you know what? I want to help these guys instead of just dismissing them or shaming them. I want to help them. So I actually started. I guess it was through my own journey, the coaching side. Like I needed something more, and so I started learning coaching as well. I love the positive aspect of coaching, the looking forward, just a different way of looking at things in psychology. So mixing them together is amazing. Um, so helping the men, that's where I first started. Like really wanted to show men that they didn't have to be like this, that if they were genuinely serious about wanting a good relationship, a long-term relationship, they had to work on themselves. And it wasn't about telling them that they were wrong or shaming them or anything like that. It was about holding space for them to say, you know what, you've been hurt and I want to help you. And that makes a difference.
Yeah, it's weird because I remember when we first started talking, you were saying that you did specialize, or you like to talk with men about a lot of this stuff, and that we are harder to get to, as far as like actually like getting our attention and saying that we need, help in these
Mm.
areas. How do you go about that? I mean, like, it's not really like you can market towards, guys in a breakup, or, like, how do you actually go about like obtaining clients, or even, is it just word of mouth, or it's just a
Yeah,
really weird field. I'm just really curious about this.
it is actually very hard. But often it is word of mouth. So either a previous client will tell their friend, they want you talk to this lady, she helped me, maybe she can help you. Solicitors or lawyers will say, I've got a client, or she'll tell him, why don't you call Leanne, I think she could help you. I've got naturopaths that I'm in contact with who will say, again, I think you need some more help than what I can do. So often it is word of mouth. I'm on LinkedIn, so I post a bit of stuff there. Instagram. Yeah, I don't have time for a lot of social media. I do a lot of it, but I try to get out there a little bit. I do notice that a lot of women mostly comment, which is fine because they need help too. LinkedIn has been a nice kind of place, I guess, because I guess it's a different audience. And I often get guys from like India or Pakistan or Dubai have contacted me and kind of reached out as well, which has been amazing because the culture there is very different to America and Australia, and those guys are feeling very, very isolated. I've heard from many of those guys that in those countries it's always considered the man's fault, and divorce is very taboo. I've had a couple of guys say that they've been separated for 12 months and nobody knows. They just pretend like it's all still a thing. They're all still married. So it's pretty horrendous for those guys as well. So this is a worldwide problem. It's not just a Western culture issue.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you said something earlier. I know like it was in a completely different context, but you said that like during your relationship, there was I don't remember the exact word, so I apologize for that. It was almost like a beratement, essentially, to where you went silent. Um, I do feel like, even in a different context, but it almost seems like as a man, we're supposed to be silent. Like I don't feel like we're allowed to say that we're hurt. Like it's the right thing to say, like that, oh, it's okay to cry, it's okay to do these things. But it doesn't feel, like we're supposed to, even if like some of the men that I respect the most are the most honest, like down to earth, like very humble, emotional men that don't mind, speaking their truth and putting their heart on their sleeve. But it just kind of feels like it's like there's something in us that's like it holds us back from kind of that vulnerability of like, you can have what I want you to see, or the camera just does that every 30 minutes, don't worry about it. But yeah, it's like here's what I want you to see, here's what's allowed, and then like to the family they get a little bit more, but there's still like this 5% that like as a man we're not allowed to show for some reason, and it kind of seems like that's the 5% that you're kind of targeting to try to like to bring out to kind of help, if I'm getting that correctly, I guess.
Yeah, and I would say it's a lot higher than 5%, actually.
Okay.
I still hear a lot of guys say, to me, you're the first person I've ever told this to, whether it be something that happened to them as a kid or in their marriage or whatever it might be. Or many years ago, one man said to me, you taught me how to cry. And I said, what a gift for me and for him. And it stems from childhood, because I think it's slowly as each generation goes on, gets better. Like parents now are allowing their little boys to cry sometimes, but still not all the times. But, you see it in the playground where if a little girl hurts herself, she's cuddled and she's held and she's soothed and loved. And little boys are like, come on, mate, toughen up. You can, you'll be all right. And so in doing that, what we're telling our little boys is that don't cry. You have to toughen up. You're not allowed to cry. So that's the message that men have been given forever, that they're not allowed to show their emotions. And unfortunately, a lot of women, as much as they think they do, they don't know how to handle their men when they're upset. And I've seen couples where I've had to help the woman understand that, well, if your man cries, what are you going to do? Are you going to sit there and help him and talk to him? Or are you going to just kind of brush it away and leave him to it? So women are still trying to figure out how to be there for their men as well. So it's like a double-edged sword, where a lot of women, they want their men to be vulnerable and to cry, but they actually don't know how to handle it. And that doesn't help the situation.
I feel like I've kind of unfortunately gotten to be a part of that. Like, just like a few months ago, I had this really bad, like a cancer mishap type thing happen, and to where um I ended up getting fibromyalgia, but we didn't know exactly what it was beforehand, and so I wasn't taking any medication, so I couldn't walk. I was in so much pain. And
Mm,
so, but I got to see my fiance like be strong until I started to loosen up. And like the more like once I got scared, like you could tell like she was like don't get me wrong, like this girl's a savage. Like she can handle her own, but like yeah, it you I there was it took something because she had looked at me like Superman, like our
mm,
entire relationship, like that nothing could ever happen to me, no matter how injured I got. And when she seen me really injured and like not be able to get up, and like I started expressing emotion about like, being scared, that that look changed, and like I seen it change. So like that was kind of like a goal almost of mine to like I need to retain that, like I need to get that image back. And it's this
mm,
really really weird thing. I don't know what that is about being a man, or maybe it's just being stubborn, you know but there's definitely something to be said about like education on both sides, about being allowed to be vulnerable while at the same time being able to actually accept vulnerability and what to do
mm.
with it as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think in the beginning stages of any relationship, most men want to be. Well, it kind of goes back to the caveman days where the men want to be the protector and the provider, and the woman is the nurturer. But as society progresses and the men no longer have to be that same level of protection or provider, because women are certainly able to provide for themselves now, and mostly they're able to protect themselves as well. And so that the dynamics between man and woman are changing. But if you start off in your relationship being that big, strong, manly man protector, and you've been together for a while, and then all of a sudden you're unwell, then your perception of both of your perceptions are going to change. Like you suddenly have to admit that, oh shit, okay, I am vulnerable, and I'm not as safe as maybe I thought I was, because look at me now, I'm sick. And she has to then go, oh my God, this man is actually human, and he can be vulnerable, and bad things can happen to him. And that's a scary moment for both of you as individuals, to see that at any given moment my partner could be taken from me. It's a scary thought.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I've always been curious about people that are um I guess not people, but who work in your profession. Like you hear stories, obviously, from all over the world. How and you obviously carry with you the weight of your own narrative. How often do you find yourself inserting your narrative, into somebody else's storyline? And is that something that does happen? Because I mean, just being, like somebody's friend, it's easy to be like, oh, that happened to me. What I did was, such and such
Mm,
and such. So, and
yeah.
especially kind of going through, like a pretty, I mean, you went through a divorce at a very young age, you're married very young. So, I mean,
Mm,
there had to have been a pretty extensive, story, um, which I'd also love to hear some, if you wouldn't mind kind of sharing some of that with us. But like, is
mm.
it, does your narrative get put into other storylines from clients?
I try not to be honest, because it's
Mhm.
not about me. Occasionally, I will ask the client permission. I'll actually say to them, is it okay if I share with you a little bit about my story? Only if I think it's going to be beneficial. And I'll only give them, like, say, 2 minutes max, because I know a lot of therapists go on and on about their own stuff. And the reason I know that is because I've heard clients say to me, oh my God, I went to this therapist and they just talked about themselves, and I think, oh God, that's so unprofessional. Don't do that. So I would never do that. So what I do instead is I really help the client to figure it out for themselves. So I use the body as a way to teach clients, read into your body, feel into your body, what's your body telling you, kind of a process. That's, I'm not going to explain it all now.
Right.
But it really helps clients to feel in and to heal whatever's going on inside of them. I do lots of different sort of techniques. The standard sort of CBT stuff, which is about helping you to look at your thoughts and the way it affects your behaviour and how you feel and all of that sort of standard stuff. But I also like to do some timeline therapy and things like that. And as a psychologist, you're not meant to be doing the timeline therapy and things, but as a coach, when I'm just purely doing the coaching, I can do that, and I love it, and that's why I do it. So that's why I've kind of started doing the coaching, because it's for me, it's more who I am. It's more expressive. It's fun.
Right.
Even though I'm dealing with some really serious issues, just this week I had this amazing woman who I met for the first time, and we had this amazing breakthrough when I helped her to release her anger, and she was crying. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And she left like walking on cloud nine. It was great. So this is the kind of the reward that this role can give.
Well, maybe you should get with my therapist. Tell her how you did that, because my therapist thinks it's a joke how angry I am at times. I don't know. I've gotten significantly better at it. But since you don't really tell your story too much to your clients or to your patients, maybe we can hear part of your story now. And
Yeah.
so you got married pretty young. Into I've always been curious into you're dating fairly young and then you get married. Is there that actual wedding date? Is there a significant change that happens, from a day to day? Is other than the weight of the ring, is there a feeling that changes, for being that young of oh shit? Or is it still walking on cloud nine at that point?
Yeah, wow. No one's ever asked me that question before. For me, it was a massive change, because I was still living with mum and dad up until our wedding day. So it was the very old-fashioned,
Yeah.
I'm at home, now I'm married, and now I'm living somewhere else. Oh my God. I've got to start fending for myself, cooking for myself, and I moved about half an hour or so away from where both of our families live, because that's where we could afford to live at that time. So it was a bit isolating as well. We actually only stayed there for about 3 months because I couldn't handle it. It was too far away for me. But I found it really tough, and there was more. Yeah, I'm not going to say there was cloud nine for sure. No, there was even a fight on the honeymoon. I'll admit, back then I was a very different person. I remember once I got so angry at him because he couldn't hear me. I actually tried to slap him, and he thought it was cute. He stopped me and he laughed at me, and that was, I think, the kind of nail in the coffin for me. I then didn't get very angry very often. It all became internal because he laughed. He thought it was freaking hilarious that I was that angry. He just couldn't see it. So it wasn't great, no. From the beginning, actually. We fought. They were all there. They were all there. He had all his own stuff to deal with. At all.
It cut out for a second. I completely stopped hearing you. It just like started. I was like waiting for something to happen.
Yes.
All right.
Sorry
All
about
right.
that. That's my internet.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to figure out what was happening. So sorry. Hope didn't look rude or anything.
No,
Yeah,
no.
yeah. So all right, continue with kind of what you were where you were going with before the robot internet sounds kicked in.
Oh, okay. Well, I think I saw that happen, so I stopped talking. I hope you heard that I said that it wasn't, it was a problem right from the beginning.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah, so I guess there was,
Now, before you continue, sorry,
yeah,
was
please.
he like manipulative or like argumentative before you got married, or was this something that
Yeah,
was? Oh, okay. So this was
he was.
so you kind of
Yes.
knew what you were getting into a little bit.
Yeah, I did. I was just blind.
Yeah.
Um, I thought things would get better. I don't even know what I was thinking. I was like 20. Um, yeah, I gave up uni. I was studying social work for a year and I gave that up because I thought, oh, well, I need to work now. So I did that, kind of stopped seeing my friends as often to hang out with him. My world became about making him happy and in the process, forgetting how to make myself happy. So I don't know if he was manipulative. He was more controlling, I think, but in from that kind of guilt trip sort of way, like I almost, as we're talking, I'm thinking, wow, I've kind of put this in a box over there. I haven't thought about this in talking about it like this for a very long time.
So he was more controlling. I guess controlling and manipulative to me kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, I guess it does, doesn't it? And it was
Yeah.
kind of subtle things, like if I was wearing something he didn't like, I wouldn't hear the end of it. If I cut my hair short, oh God, it was just, I don't like it. Grey hair, when are you going to grey hair back? All that sort of stuff. If I bought the wrong, remember once he had a fit because I bought the wrong jam, stupid things like that. Nothing ever being good enough. That's what it was. Nothing was ever good enough. It was very, very, very hard to please, and I was constantly trying to do that and it was probably only 2 years after the divorce where I finally said, this man is unpleasable. I'm not going to try ever again. And I stopped, and then my life got better, and he's probably too. And it was a few years later that he actually apologized. I guess he finally realized that he'd messed that all up. I was like, okay, thank you for
Yeah.
that. We were done.
Yeah, I remember like when we started talking, one of the kind of interesting things that I think that we came across was the fact that I've openly, been okay saying that I've been kind of like a shitty dude in like the past and kind of been that person in the relationship. If not even worse at times, obviously without being there, knowing, the details or whatever. But I've
Mm,
definitely been in some situations that I'm not proud of. And it took quite a long time and, still clearly working on it. Um, but I ended up going to like rehab, and, stop drinking, drugs, just basically everything. And then getting into therapy and really like diving into like why things happen and kind of being not so much okay admitting what I did because I'm not proud of, anything that happened, but being okay that it happened, that I can't change it.
mm,
And so I know a lot of stuff that comes from that, at least from like my perspective, is like a lot of insecurities and things.
mm,
Basically like trying to control others because can't really control what's going on in myself, or I don't really know who I am to make decisions, or there's so many avenues that can go down. um
yeah.
as you've kind of like worked through everything, like you said, you've almost like kind of compartmentalized it and put it into a box. Do you ever look back on yourself at that time and kind of reflect now and see like who you were, where you've come, what you've learned, and kind of, do you still carry that person with you, or have you been able to kind of like let that person go as well as what actually happened?
I think I carry the old Leanne with me a little bit for sure, but I'm so proud of myself and where I've come from. So I don't want to ignore the old me ever, because if it wasn't for that part of me, I wouldn't be where I am now. And I needed to go through all of that so that I could understand people and their journey. And if I didn't have my ex-husband, I probably wouldn't have done psychology, because I was going to start social work, so it's a completely different thing. I certainly wouldn't have done coaching, because I always had this sense inside of me that I was meant to be doing something more. And I didn't know what it was, and it took him actually saying to me that everything in our relationship that was wrong was my fault. There's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you.
And he was
Heard
perfect.
it. Yes, apparently. It's all
Yeah,
my
I've
fault.
been perfect before too. Yeah, I should meet this guy.
Yes, probably get on well.
Yeah, exactly.
And so eventually I went to a psychologist to shut him up. In my mind, it was all his fault, so I wasn't going to go. But in the end, I went, stop this. I'm going just to shut him up.
Yeah.
And I came home from that one visit and said, I'm going back to university. I'm going to be a psychologist. I'm not happy, and this is why our relationship is not happy. But after 1 hour, that's what I said to him. And he was really peeved off about that. He didn't want me to go to uni. He wanted me to fix myself.
Yeah.
But going to uni was great, because it showed me a lot. A lot of psychologists have their issues, and that's why they go and study psychology. It showed me a lot. It taught me a lot. It led me to coaching. It led me to here. It led me to therapy. As a psychologist in Australia, we have to do some supervision every single year, 10 hours worth, which doesn't sound like much, but it's something. Plus, I do lots of other stuff. I've done a load of work on myself to get to this point. And so I really thank him now, because he has taught me so much. And I know that if I met him now, we would have a completely different relationship, because I'm different. I wouldn't put up with him telling me what to do. I'll just like, okay, whatever, you don't like it, that's your problem. Right. I wouldn't pander to him like I did before. So I can see my role in that. I allowed myself to get completely, let's go with the word manipulated. I guess I did. I allowed that to happen. Because I was young and naive, and I thought that I had to please him to be happy rather than please myself.
Do you ever like wonder why it happened? I mean, like, why, like the hostility and just kind of everything surrounding it. Like, why did it happen? Not so much like, I guess just the encompassing why factor, that kind of surrounds everything.
Well, I guess he had his stuff from the past as well, his traumas from the past that he had never worked on. He didn't really know himself very well. I didn't know myself very well. So we had these two people who desperately wanted to be seen, didn't really know how to do that, way too young to get married, because I had no experience of relationship really before him. He had a couple of girlfriends, as you do, but nothing really serious. So we just didn't know how to relate. We didn't know how to be in a healthy, functional relationship. So we crashed. Yeah. And a lot of people do that. They look for their partner to complete them. You complete me. Bullshit. If you want to be in a good relationship, a healthy, happy relationship, you have to love yourself first. If you don't love yourself first, then you're going to keep on attracting things, people, situations are going to teach you. So, the more you love yourself, the more functional your relationship will be.
Right. So how are relationships and everything going forward from the divorce and from graduation from uni and moving on
Mm.
to like your professional career? How does everything kind of play a factor in now?
Yeah, well, first couple of years were, I guess, just about finding myself. So went on a few dates, but nothing really serious. That was, that's what you do. That was fine. Then I did end up in a 2-year relationship that was really very wrong for me. I'm quite sensitive to people's energy, so I was always exhausted with him. He was a nice guy, but he was very low energy, and I was always drained when I was around him. Just want to say, when people have kids, right, and your kids don't really like your partner, you should listen to them. My kids really struggled with him, and I could see it. And at the end, it was my children that made me break up with him, because they both said, if he moves in here, we're moving out. I was like, all right, there's no way that's going to happen. So I took a good hard look at me and my relationship with him, and I ended it, which was definitely the right thing to do. And then probably only 6 months or so after that, what I actually did was wrote out a list of exactly what I wanted in a relationship. It was a full page typed list, exactly what I wanted from, I want my kids to love him, or at least like him. If he has kids, I want them to like my kids. I want them to get on. I want him to, be secure in who he is, and financially secure, and this and that, just this whole list. And then 5 days later, or whatever it was, I met him online, and now we're married. We've been married for 3 years and together for 7. So,
Wait, 5 days after you wrote the list?
yep, 5 days. Yeah.
Well, I guess once you figure out what you want, it's not really hard to like go find it. If you don't have to like see all the stuff you don't want. So
That's right. I was fully focused, and I kind of wrote the list. I still remember it so clearly, and I printed it up and I read it again, and I got chills. It's like, oh my god, this is going to be the best relationship ever. And then I just chucked the list in the drawer, and then I met Grant, his name is, online, and we shouldn't have met, because A, he lied about his age, so he was a couple of years older than my parameters, and B, he said that he lived in a different postcode, which was an hour away, but there was something about his profile that I was like, oh, this guy looks really nice. So we started chatting, and then we met, and then a couple of months later, I remembered the list. I pulled it out and I showed him, and he was like, yeah, I think we're nearly there. It's like, all right, this is good.
did
So
you show him the list?
I did.
Really? How
Yeah.
did how did that go over? Because I like to like think of my life as like I've lived multiple lives. As
Yeah.
far as like my previous life is, like before I went to rehab and like all the partying and everything, and that guy would have heard of a woman that wrote a list and be like, oh, so she's crazy, and I want nothing to do with her. And now that like I've started moving into like the professional world and like engaged and kind of gotten my shit together, if like I had to go back into the dating world and be like have a list, like, oh cool, can I see it? First of all, I'm just kind of curious to see what your expectations are,
Yeah,
and second, like there's nothing wrong with having goals and being focused and knowing what you want, because I've had some
absolutely.
relationships to where like I've left relationships to get into relationships that looked fun that were like, just horrible. Like they were just worse. Like, obviously, like I just continued to get worse throughout each one and never actually stopped to look at myself. So,
Many people don't. I mean, what's wrong with knowing what you want? If you know what you want, okay, I'll put it this way. Say you want to buy a car, right?
mhm.
And you go to a car yard, and they sell all the different makes and models, and they might have some motorbikes in there as well. And you go there and you have no idea what you want. You might know that, oh yeah, I want a car that's between 2 and 3 years old, but that's all you know. It's going to be really hard for you to choose the right car for you. You might walk away from there with the wrong car and then think, oh, why did I buy this car? So when people buy a car, they know what they want, generally speaking. They know how much they want to spend, how old it's going to be, maybe what colour they want it to be, the model, the make. Sometimes they know everything. They know exactly the car that they want. What would it be like if we went into a relationship knowing this is what I want? And if you don't tick the top 5 non-negotiables, then this is not for me and it's not for you either. You save them all the grief and hassle, and you save yourself all that grief and hassle. Because if you choose someone and they only have like the top 2 things and the next 3 things that are really important to you are not a match, it's not going to work, because you're going to want them to change, or they're going to want you to change. And we don't want to change. We want to be our true, authentic self.
Yeah, it's just really hard to not think about. It's almost like shopping for like a Honda Civic. Like I feel like you're like comparing your husband, to like going and like just picking one out on the lot, and that's the one. But
Yeah,
you're very right, and the the hard part that I've found is you have to know what you don't want, at least for me anyway, of like learning what I don't want, what doesn't work for me, and what brings what out of me, to learn who I even am. So,
yeah,
or is that something that you were? Yeah, I guess that's how I would want to word that question is, do you
yeah.
think you have to know who you are to know what you want first? I
It
guess.
definitely helps, right? But you can start with a simple list. You can start, and it's interesting the way you say, I don't know what I don't want. Well, that's great, because what you need to know is what you do want. So often when I say to people, what do you want in a relationship? They will tell me what they don't want. I don't want a liar. I don't want to cheat. I don't want an alcoholic. I'm like, okay, so what do you want? And they're like, I just told you. I'm like, no, you didn't. So then I reframe it. What you do want is someone who's trustworthy, someone who's honest, someone who's healthy in their body or who respects their body. So you focus on what you do want. That whole list has to be 100% positive and focused on what you do want. Otherwise, the unconscious mind keeps looking for, I don't want a cheater, I don't want a cheater, I don't want a cheater. Cancels out the word don't, and then you're left with, I want a cheater. You keep on finding cheaters all the time.
That is crazy. Like I see how that plays out, but like to actually, yeah, I don't know. Because
Mm.
yeah, I've heard a lot of women say that they don't want a cheater. And then for some reason, so while me being a piece of shit, every girl liked me because they said that I was different and I wasn't like all the other guys. And I got them to think that by telling them I wasn't a cheater, when most times I was cheating on someone else with them before I got with them. So,
You are a bad boy.
oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely was like in it. Yeah, it's not something that like, I'm proud of, but
Yeah,
I I feel like more guys need to be honest about things, not so much like blunt and try to like, I slept with this many women, because like
yeah,
after like being engaged and like thinking about, like having kids and, like having a career and I'm not in college anymore, like
mm,
you kind of look back on things and be like, oh, so I was a piece of shit, and it didn't always go the other way. It wasn't always that I didn't call the girl back, like they might have just not wanted me,
mm,
and then like you have to kind of like go through that whole thought process, of like who is using
yeah.
who, or whatever
It
the
does
case
go
is.
both ways.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you and the audience a little secret. Both Grant and I were dating other people when we first met.
And
And
you said
we,
I was the bad one.
but we told each other, right? And the guy that
Okay.
I was seeing, he knew that he said to me, Leanne, I'm never going to fall in love with you. I was like, all right, whatever. We'll just hang on. Yeah. And I showed him my list, and he said to me, oh, this list is way too far-fetched. You're never going to achieve that. Instantly, I knew he was not my guy. I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
So I said to him, I'm going on a date with this guy the other day. He's like, okay. And then, you know, and this is another thing that gets me, this whole idea of chemistry, right? When Grant and I went on our first date, we both thought that the other person that we weren't compatible, that we didn't like each other. There was no kiss, not even a kiss on the cheek, nothing. And I said to this other guy, oh, don't worry, he didn't like me, didn't even try and give me a kiss. And Grant walked away thinking I didn't like him either. And then we rang me and said, let's catch up for a coffee. Okay, we had a nice dinner, let's catch up. And it was 2 or 3 dates later, I think the third.
Well, her internet died. And she looks like she's like frozen right now. I don't really know what to do because it's definitely still recording. I don't know if she can even hear me, but I do know that whenever she comes back, she's about to say the third date. So she's gone. So yeah, I don't really know what happened, but Leanne is gone. So it's just me on my own podcast. And no one actually listens to this, but it's fine because I can keep talking by myself. But for the people that are listening, yeah, guys are pieces of shit. I was probably one of the worst ones. So I can kind of give you the insight onto how shitty guys can be. We can be shitty. It's not something to be proud of, but I do feel like people need to look at other people's intentions a little bit more clearer before they get into any deep relationships. But where is Leanne? Her internet dropped out, people. Her internet? Bro, it's 2021. Come on, Leanne. No, this happens all the time. It's not like all the time, but like everybody lives basically on the internet. Without the internet, what are we going to do? So for someone's internet to drop out, it's perfectly fine. The fact that she's even willing to come on here is amazing. And you got to think right now, excuse me, sorry, it's 3:30 in Australia. It's 11:30 in Michigan. So she's literally on the other side of the world and we're having a conversation. So it's not like, wait, what is this? I don't even know how to do that. What the? Yeah, sure, whatever. I don't know. Get out of here. What are you doing? I don't know what this thing is. Sometimes I really got to figure out how to work this stuff. Share screen. That's not what I want to do. Oh, nope, still one. Still just me. But I'm recording. What else can I do? So guess what? Tom, you're listening because you're my only friend that listens to this. And actually, there's quite a few people. I gotta edit this part out. If I don't edit this part out, this is gonna sound really stupid. Me just blabbering to myself, and then people are gonna think I'm crazy. the fact that I'm just talking to myself while waiting for Leanne to come back on. But I don't care. Like at all. Like I'm fine. Because it's me. I don't know, man. She's typing, people. She's typing. She has to move. Where's she moving to? I don't know where she's moving to. Well, I should do these live. If I did these live, then that way people would be able to chime in to tell me what questions to ask. So that's something I gotta do. Do by midnight. So 2 study guides by midnight tomorrow. You know, it's weird being 36 and being in college. That's what's weird. It's different, especially doing this. Like I'm a 36-year-old man and I'm in my living room with a light and a camera and a microphone trying to act like my podcast is really going to do something. Like there's some weird stuff going on, but I don't actually like care like if this becomes like a big thing. I genuinely want people to hear good stories and conversations. And that's hard to do when Leanne isn't here. Would you agree? Because I would. Whoa. I guess never real. No. Okay. Yeah. You know what?
Oh, what is going on? Can you hear me, Rob?
Yeah.
Now it doesn't want to start my video. About to start the video. Oh, I've never seen that before. Ah, the joys.
Yeah, right.
Ah, what is this? I think the universe is telling me I need a new computer. Maybe I'll go onto it with my phone. Okay.
I mean, it's recording, so
yeah.
the thing that's frustrating is you were in your story to where everybody in the world knows like the important third date question, you know, and you were like, so is right about the third date that wah, 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 wah.
All right, I'm going to log on with my phone.
Okay.
I've only got 23%. Let's see how we go with this. All right. I'm going to turn off the computer.
Oh, perfect. Can you hear everything? Where'd you go? Can you hear me? I think she broke the internet. I think that's what happened. She broke the internet. She's trying. She's gone. What? No. Hmm. Hmm. Tesla did not connect to audio. Is your Bluetooth on? She's gone again. Hmm. I can hear
Right,
something.
we'll try again.
I hear you. Are you still there? Wait, does that do anything? What can I do? You can hear me. No, that mutes me. You have a red check next to your name. I can ask you to unmute, but I'm pretty sure at this point you would know. Oh,
Did that work?
that
Oh,
worked.
you can hear me. Excellent. We got that part going.
What if I hit that? Did that? I don't even know what that did.
No, I get a failed video message coming up. Well, yeah, I think we're at the point where this conversation is so cool. You could like have two podcasts out of this conversation.
Do you want to do that?
You can split it up, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to come another time and chat again? I'm happy to.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
All right. I don't know. I think the universe really wants me to go buy a new computer. It's been telling me for a few days now that I've got too much crap on my computer. I need to delete stuff away.
Well, if files didn't get larger every day, it seems like no matter what, everything is getting bigger, and space is not like what it used to be. Like you can buy terabytes now, and that's just a normal hard drive space.
God. Yeah. Yeah. I'm so sorry. I was really into that conversation.
Yeah, no, we're definitely gonna have to do it again. I was trying to figure out a way of like hearing like more of your story, or like I don't know, but we're definitely we're gonna have to figure it out. Um, yeah, do you just want to do it same time, same day next week?
I've got a course I'm doing next week,
Okay.
unfortunately. I could probably bump out for an hour. Yeah, let's do it.
You sure? Well, if something changes, you can let me know.
Yeah, okay. Um, yeah, and I think, you can figure out at the end there, stop it wherever you want to stop it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was getting pretty long. People are probably going to go, oh, this is too long.
Yeah, yeah. And then as soon as it stopped, like I didn't really know what to do. So I started talking to myself and being a crazy person. So so yeah, I was planning on just like cutting that whole part, and then we'll just kind of like pick up and just start winging it. I think it kind of feels like we were like getting into a groove to where it would have like really started to been a lot cooler at that point. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can just like pick up straight from there.
Maybe
And
maybe we can make the topics, if you want to have a topic about, because you're about, trauma and stuff, we can talk about trauma and dating and how we bring that into the relationship and how we need to know what we want, and we can just have that as the whole topic.
yeah, that'd be cool.
All right. Nice. All right then. Well, Rob, thank you so much. Love your questions.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Sorry it didn't work out. We'll
Oh,
figure
it did
it out
work
though.
out. I think the universe is telling us, I always believe everything happens for a reason, that it was getting too long. We need to split it up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And sorry if my questions are weirdly worded. So I do this thing to where I used to try to like color my language like with vulgarities just a little too much. And so now I try to like overcompensate by like asking words that or asking questions with words people wouldn't traditionally string together.
I love
Apparent
it. It makes you
Apparently
think.
that's a gift of mine I've gotten. So yeah, I apologize for that.
No, don't apologize. I think I'm the opposite, where I used to be kind of teased because I never, ever, ever swore. And now I swear way too much and I have to stop myself.
Yeah. No, I mean I still swear, but like
Yeah.
yeah, I mean it is what it is. I basically live the traditional American frat boy lifestyle into my 30s, trying to act like the party was going to keep going. So now I just
Yeah.
gotta be an adult, and I'm figuring out how to do that. So that's where
Oh,
I'm
looks like you're doing all right.
at. Well, thanks. I'm trying.
Maybe
So
maybe one day I can do a timeline with you and help you let go of some of that anger.
yeah, yeah. My therapist had this huge timeline that we did, but it was like a trauma timeline, and that was the most sad thing I've ever seen in my life. I don't know if I want to do it
Yeah, I
though.
know. I'd see. I don't do that. I just go straight to the root cause, and then you learn what it is you needed to learn at that point, and it just helps to lift stuff.
Well, shit. If I would have known that was an option, I would have just done that to start with.
I'll just show you how it works one day, Rob.
Yeah, for sure. I'm down. So,
All
all right,
right.
cool. Yeah, well, let's do this next week then.
Next week. Awesome.
All
All
right, sounds
right. I
good.
might have a new computer by then.
All right.
All right. Thanks,
Sounds
Rob.
good.
Have a good
Yeah,
week.
talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.